Really been wanting to make a video about this. When I got back into the helm as a creative director at Arisu, I realized my vantage point that's developed over years of working in streetwear and fashion design. I speak a lot in colleges. I'll be a part of a panel for portfolio or just kind of speak. By the way, I love speaking in settings like that, so if by any chance you work for a fashion college or any kind of conference that might be able to use me on a panel or for keynote speaking, please DM me. While I was at Arisu and kind of implementing my style and how I set up my program of creative directing a brand, there's a lot of different questions that I asked myself that I would have never asked myself when I was in my 20s or 18 and just kind of venturing off into wanting to become an apparel designer. So what I want to say for companies, whether it's just starting or it's very seasoned company, a known brand, I think kind of the key in design is staying open-minded. I've been in apparel professionally over 13 years, as this is post-dating. I actually have the leeway to say this because I come from a design background. By heart and by proxy, I'm an artist and I'm a designer. As you watch my videos, you definitely understand that my focus in terms of helping a brand is more on the logistics, more on the mechanics, of how the business actually runs and how it works. And so asking myself a different quality of question throughout the years has kind of made me think about this subject, and what I want to say is I think finding the right designs or designers is obviously extremely important because you're putting out product that's new every season and it's built on whatever the consistency of that brand is. Whether you're known for having really dope woven shirts, or you're known for your t-shirt graphics, or you're known for really good accessories program, bags, hats, and that sort of thing. I mean, it's all communicated over time via your design. I think the cautions or the traps that I want to talk about is sometimes you can have people in art leadership that are not willing to hear anything else. And depending on where you are in the spectrum, for the most part, I think that's bad. If we're talking about streetwear, mass production, with a retail base doing at least 2 million, 3 million, all the way up to 15, 12 million, I think it's important to have a processes where you can have a couple different voices being heard. So when I was the creative director at Arisu, I formed a huge team of art, including 6 different interns that we were managing. From the internship program, I chose each one of those people for different reasons. All of them definitely brought a different aesthetic, a different look, a different opinion towards the design, and I would take it all in. Now, at the end of the day, I would make the decisions in terms of what gets produced, how it's designed, how it's finished, and I would live and die by that, as I wouldn't blame that on anyone else. But in terms of listening to people and knowing what's hot, my art director was 26, which is much younger than me and much closer to the age of our actual consumer. So I would listen to him all the time and see what he was listening to and what he was into. And so all of that weighs differently in the actual design. You also have a lot of people that you kind of have to listen to in terms of what that end product for a season looks like. You have distributors, you have retailers, and not all are created equal. If you have a retailer that does $200,000 buys, and that does more than all the rest of your distributors combined, obviously now the weight of that person when he's talking to me on what he wants to see in the upcoming seasons is very important. You can see on a bigger scale how I believe that's important, to be open-minded and kind of edit down to what you offer as a nice tight offering that meets as many needs as possible and still retains kind of the identity of your brand. Now, on the other end of things, we're a really, really small company, what I want to say is you can live and die by your graphic designer or your designer, like whatever that begins or starts with. And a lot of things that will come back to me will be like, I've been doing my brand for like a year and a half, and I'm not really getting traction. 9 times out of 10, the designs are fucking whack. And so if you're the owner / designer of that brand, what I'm saying for this video is you need to be able to be open to hearing that feedback and not creating blockers to say, oh, I don't know what's wrong with my brand. My stuff looks exactly like enter really dope company, Crooks and Castles, Hundreds, LRG, because chances are it does not look like any of those companies. I grew up with one of the design directors at LRG, with Millhouse. I'm pretty sure if you show me a website of what you're doing and I show it to Millhouse and we have a conversation about the designs, I'm pretty sure the level of art direction is going to probably be over your head, because there's a lot of design direction that goes into discussing what goes into designing a brand. It's not really what you just do off the top of your head. In one instance, I actually commented to someone who watches the channel that his graphics needed a lot more art direction, and that's probably just one of the reasons why it's probably not moving and his project is at a standstill. The message that I want to say about the focus of design in your company is, who's ever in art leadership, I believe they should be open-minded. You don't want to fall, I think, into the trap where you go into the demise of wherever the designer wants to go, which is very, very common. It's definitely been the death of certain clothing companies to take a sharp turn in looks. It can be done right, of course, but there's a lot of things that need to be measured in doing a big transition for a look and change and a look and customer. But generally speaking, you got to be mindful of what people want to purchase, what you're competing with. Also balancing that with bringing in new looks, being on trend, not so much ahead of the trend, I believe, but really on trend to really maximize sales and growth and happiness of your retail and distribution. It's hard because I'll deal with a lot of people that they're the owner/designer, so I can't really say to them, man, your designs they're fucking whack. But that is the case with some people that come to me for consultation. Have a non-biased group of people look at your designs. Make sure you're always open-minded as to what the feedback are to your designs, because that's kind of a objective and subjective X factor that can really cost your company or make your company. Now that sounds very simple, but when you work with actual people at brands, you'd be surprised at how the hierarchy is set and how people are set in their ways, and it can literally be the demise of your company. As always, if you have anything to add to the conversation, comments, questions, drop it below. Hope that helps. Thanks.